Good evening and welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting on Monday, July 11th. We are having it live and also Zoom in accordance with Governor Baker's edict. Being 7 o'clock, I'll open the meeting. I will say, is anybody here for Washington Street? Okay, because they're continuous, so you don't have to stay around. So any public comments at this time? Do we have any minutes? Has Dave verified any minutes that we can
Well, May
get?
16th, he wasn't here. He wasn't at that meeting, and I sent it out to the rest of you. So if the rest of you are all right.
Somebody want to make a motion to approve the May 16th meeting?
I'll make a motion. That was a very short meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 16th, 2022 Conservation Commission meeting.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? So be it. Okay, 7:05 PM, we have a request for determination. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, the Conservation Commission will open a public meeting on Monday, July 11th, 2022, 7:05 PM in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, and via Zoom on a request for determination of applicability filed by Foxborough Cemetery Corporation and Cocasset Lake Association to install 70 feet of 4-foot-high chain-link fence, 16 feet from the water's edge and 6 to 4 feet from the paved roadway in an attempt to rectify trespassing issues in Cocasset Lake at Rock Hill Cemetery, 81 South Street, Assessor's Map 091, Parcel 006, within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. And who's here for the, okay. Schuster.
Thank you, Brad Pond, 15 Water Street. I'm the Cocasset Lake moderator.
Okay. All right. In quote, full disclosure, since I have quote property at Rock Hill Cemetery, I've completed the potential conflict of interest with the town hall. So, go ahead. You want to tell us what you want to do?
Sure. We'd like to install a fence in the back end of the cemetery, 70-foot fence. It will be raised up to allow turtles and whatnot to go under the fence. The purpose of it is to do a planting in an area that has been run down. It's all stones and gravel. There's been a lot of trespassers in the area. They drive up, they put boats into private property lake, which can bring invasive weeds. So the purpose of it is to keep the trespassers off. We spend a lot of money to keep the invasive weeds down. It's sort of a starting process for us to continue keeping trespassers off of the lake.
Okay. Now, I know you've had conversations with our agent, Jane Pierce.
Yes.
The fence is in our protected 25-foot no disturb area.
Correct.
Quite, as far as I'm concerned, as soon as we give you a variance for that fence, everybody's going to be in for a variance. And I'm definitely opposed to it. I'll let the other members speak to that as well. Any comments?
So I concur with you. I wouldn't like setting the precedent of allowing, we've had a number of hearings lately where we've kind of tried to hold the line at the 25-foot no disturb, and so I'm in line with you, Bob.
Okay. You just got in a little bit late. This is on the Rock Hill Cemetery. They want to put a fence.
Yeah, I walk by there almost every day.
Okay.
I'm right at that spot, and it's, I mean, it's one of those, you're gonna put a fence there, then they're gonna, so if they're gonna do it, they're just gonna move somewhere else.
I agree, and I just want to say that what's happening down there is that trespassers are going there
Yeah.
on a regular basis. They're fishing there.
Yep.
They're putting boats in there. They are putting on waders and going in the water. I am the one that's down there in my own waders cleaning out the lake of the debris that's left behind from these people. Beer cans, soda cans, trash. I picked up 4 garbage trash bags of trash there because people are going through this area. Now, we've got to start somewhere to keep the trespassers off. And they're littering and they're destroying a beautiful lake that we spend a lot of money to keep in pristine condition. And we work very closely with Jane to do this. We're law abiding. We're just trying to protect our property.
So as far as the trash goes, there are people that just hang out there. They're not fishing. There's a lot of people that do that too.
Well, we do see a lot of fishing. I'm sure there are people hanging out there.
I mean, I know because I walk through and we pick up after our dogs every time. We do all this stuff and I pay attention and it's like
People take
yeah.
walks through there,
Yeah.
of course, and that's great.
Right.
That cemetery is beautiful and people should do that. But they are going in the water, which can be hazardous. If somebody falls over, I find a lot of beer cans, so there could be intoxication there. And it's really not protecting the area. And I'm not, I'm just trying to keep people off of a lake that we spend a lot of money to protect. And I'm willing to work with conservation to put a fence in there where wildlife can get through, and revitalize that hill there that's been run down. It's all boulders and rock. We're just trying to plant there native plants to, help preserve the lake.
So when were you there I'm just curious when you were there when you did the cleanup?
The last cleanup I did was last fall.
Okay.
How does it look now?
I mean, I haven't seen people fishing there, but that doesn't mean people aren't. Just because when I go in the morning and the evening, which is when people usually are out doing that.
So Chief Grace has a record of the
Okay.
people that we call the trespassers.
Yep.
And we've called his men down.
Yep.
I have spoken to a few of the trespassers who just disagree and they feel they have the right to do so.
Yeah.
And this has been an ongoing issue for many, many years. I'm trying to start to stop people because there's a lot of other lakes that they can
Yeah.
fish
I mean,
on.
I don't disagree with what you're trying to accomplish. I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that because it's posted. It's like, it's not, it's a cemetery, but then it's also the lake, which is, you guys have liability concerns.
Correct.
And I have no problems with what you're trying to accomplish at all, because I agree with that. It's like, if you're gonna be down there, be respectful, you're not supposed to fish, I wouldn't do it, because you're not supposed to. And so I have no issues with what you're trying to do.
Gotcha.
That's
Yep.
not at all, because,
Just the methodology.
just doing the permanent fence.
And I know Jane has suggested, and I'm sure she's talked to you many times, she's talked to me many times, is heavily planting that, and just closing it off with planting, sweet pepper bush and other native vegetation. Put up a temporary time limit fence right on the road of a construction, the orange construction tape, to protect the plants till they get started and go from there.
Can you explain to me what a temporary fence would be, just so I have an understanding of it?
Just the orange construction fence that they have at all the constructions.
It's 4 foot high, orange, like if you put in a pool.
I've seen them at construction sites, sure. And what happens if they get vandalized?
That's a good question. We haven't,
No matter what you do, it will be vandalized. I have a spot that I'm trying to keep people in, and so I feel your pain. And I put up cameras, and the things that I'm seeing, people coming and going, is horrifying me. There's nothing you can do. But the best protection would be a really thick buffer zone. There are a lot of openings that people have created. It's not just this one. This is the worst. But if they start ruining the other ones as well, you're just going to have the same problem. But there's beautiful native shrubs along the edge of the waterway there, which I'm really impressed with. If you really got to it and put a really good restoration with very thick plantings. You got the sweet pepper bush, you've got the white azaleas, which are flowering now and smell beautiful. You've got button bush, it was really pretty impressive. But there are several other places as well, so would you be planting them too?
Well, the issue is this, and right across from that area, you know, where that little nuisance is, to the left, there's also a little path.
On the cove.
And people were in there 2 weeks ago with hedge trimmers cutting things down.
They do it in our conservation area too, and I have pictures of them, and I'm
And I
really
called the police,
annoyed.
and Chief Grace is sick and tired of sending his people down there. So we're just trying to stop a nuisance.
Quite frankly, my personal opinion, you put up a fence there, they're going to find another spot. And it's going to
agree.
be.
I've got to
and-
start somewhere, though.
Yeah. But unfortunate, as I say, the very second that we put in, allow a variance within that 25-foot buffer, we might as well throw it out because everybody's going to be coming in. You gave them a variance, I want a variance. And the commission has tried to, as my predecessor says, paint everybody with the same paintbrush. No one gets a variation on the 25-foot buffer.
But we do allow restorations.
Yeah,
do.
we allow the restoration.
We
but-
were actually trying to do one over at the Lane property, which somebody chopped up recently.
Right. I mean, you know that I've put signs up, and every time.
Signs aren't going to help.
No, they keep taking them out, they keep throwing them in the water, they keep vandalizing the area. So we're gonna put an orange fence there, they're just gonna vandalize it. They're gonna go around it, because the cemetery is an absentee neighbor. They're not there to do this, you know, to protect the area. And we're just trying to protect the area to make conservation work there, and plant and revitalize this hill area.
I have a question, and I don't know the ruling on this. Would putting in large boulders, would that be considered disturbing the, I mean, that's a natural,
No, if you put natural
Feature.
boulders, I'm all for it. You can naturalize the area and make it a little more difficult. Even we're having problems on our new Edwards Road access
Yes,
to the
the boat ramp.
Neponset Reservoir. They've moved the boulders there. They're going to put a nice bench at the bottom. The whole intent of that was to have non-motorized boats in and out of there. And people are hitting the newly put-in cement for this bench. So it's just, a few people are giving fishermen in town a very bad name.
I understand that, and I understand the boulders. I mean, I saw a guy build a catamaran, no joke, in the cemetery and bring it through and launch their boat onto the lake, which then becomes our liability. If they fall in, if they hurt themselves,
Can you give them a letter of disinvite?
we do.
I've heard the words before. I've never done it.
Disinvite. And this is where Chief Grace become the moderator between Rock Hill Cemetery and ourselves. And he's tired of sending his men down there. I'm trying
I
to
feel
work
his
with
pain
Chief,
because
and
I'm having
Chief
that
is on our
problem in
side.
all the
I
conservation areas.
understand. I don't disagree.
I don't know what
but-
the solution is, but a fence is not, because they came in recently and they come in with the big choppers to cut the chain link fence. If you're not watching every second, you're going to spend a lot of money and it's going to be for naught. So I don't know what to say about the plantings. Maybe if you put some signs about why are we doing this, it's
You already
a
discussed the signs
restoration
don't
area.
work, right? We just discussed that.
Well, the educational signs, not just you can't come in signs. I think that's the main problem. And, please enjoy it, but
Yeah.
look, don't touch.
Yeah.
But I have a new sign for the restoration area at the Lane Learning Center because our landscaper told me that somebody cut a bunch, so whoever mowed the lawn, we're assuming, mowed a bunch of the restoration area, including some sweet pepper bushes that should be flowering and such. So, I mean, if you can't even, I'm sorry I'm laughing. I'm so frustrated by all of this. I just can't even
I am as
begin to
well.
tell you.
I don't know if we could put fines up or something. I don't know what the legal
Fines don't
action-
work, no.
It's just, I know the police department is tired of it. We're tired of it. The cemetery is tired of hearing us complain about it. And I'm the one that's cleaning it up, and it's a disaster down there. I'm
But
just
you can
trying to
understand
make
our
it.
standpoint. We give you a variance, and we're stuck. I mean,
You're
because.
giving the cemetery a variance, I understand.
Give anybody a
Anybody,
variance.
Right.
anybody.
Anybody.
Everyone's the same.
There's no way to put the fence outside the 25, right? It's gotta be.
No.
Nah, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, if you
Put one in
could,
the
Where the
water,
pathway is.
but
yeah.
nobody wants that either.
I know.
Is there any way of closing off that back roadway? I mean, people
No,
who want to
because-
visit
Walk it all the
graves
time.
can walk. People who want to visit graves could walk.
It's an interesting idea.
But, yeah,
That's, yeah.
I mean, the answer is
it-
yes, you could.
There's 3 entrances to the cemetery.
But no, it's just like if you were
No,
to
that
block
lower
off.
road.
That
If you
cove right
where it
there.
comes down, goes around, but just block off those two entrances to start with. So at least vehicles don't get down there.
Right, there's 3, I think there's 3 entrances that go to that area.
Well, you can't, I don't
There's a,
know.
there's a dirt road.
There's, well, there's,
and
Yeah,
2
but you cross the
no,
dirt
like the
road.
dirt road, the one that they just redid with the, I don't know what they did over there.
Yeah,
But is it, I don't know if it's infant graves over on that side?
I think they graded it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not, yeah. But there's, so, I mean, like I say, I mean, I just was there a little while ago, so it's literally, you come down, and they put the street signs up again, you come out, there's a street that goes that way, and there's, the main road comes down, you could go to the left, but you can also go right, or through that loop, and just block off that loop. At a minimum, you're keeping vehicles out of there. That's not gonna stop the guys from,
There's another parking area down the way,
no, but I mean, it's,
They
I
won't be
mean,
able
it's,
to bring boats.
yeah, it's gonna make it more difficult to be able to
make it
launch
Union
boats
solved.
and stuff, it's just,
okay, all right, okay, all right.
so. Yeah, I mean,
That's this, right?
I mean, I am totally agree with, with what you're trying to do, totally.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to
It's-
protect an area.
yeah.
A stone.
Because it's like, I mean, come on, people, there's a sign right there, what are you doing?
Right, and then the
It's-
police are calling me, or stopping by my house all the time,
Yeah.
like, we missed them, or we got them, it's not deterring them from coming through.
Right,
And
right.
we're making, 40
Yeah.
calls a season, I gotta use 911 to call the police, which goes to the
I know,
Mansfield
I know,
dispatch to
I
get to
know.
Foxborough,
I know,
and,
I know, I know.
the
Now, it doesn't go to
response time is
Mansfield, it
20,
goes up
30
to
minutes.
The
Norwood
state
or
forest
someplace.
right now, all
Okay.
911 calls.
Right.
But, and I even talked to Chief Grace as well. I've talked to town manager, Chief Grace, you name it, I've talked to everybody that I can think of. And they all agree that if I grant a variance, I'm dead.
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
So the 25-foot buffer zone.
yeah, I'm trying to think again, outside the box a little bit here.
I am too, yeah.
Is there a way to take advantage of our friend to help solve this problem?
What friend might that be?
Water Street.
Oh, heck no.
By, hey, we're gonna make it available on these days, 5 days a year, whatever. I'm not talking like once a week or something, like, and I, what I'm thinking, it's like, and then but you guys gotta help police this so that it's not happening on every other time.
It's not just the friend, that's,
No, I know, I mean, but it's like,
No, we're not gonna allow any public access to the lake. It's
No.
private property.
no, I get that.
Okay.
I get that. So, I mean, basically, you're answering the same way that we're answering.
Correct.
So basically, all you're going to be able to do is put some sort of a chain link fence all around the outside edge, and it's not going to work.
Is
So-
it possible to try that temporary fence, the orange fencing, if the cemetery allows us to do that?
Yeah.
I think too, Jane mentioned, signs don't work, and the ones that say like, no fishing here, whatever, aren't working.
But
But if
Happy
you
Bunny-
put those up and put up like, this is a wildlife rehabilitation site, and we're trying to attract wildlife back to the area because this is their natural habitat, and you fishing here is not helping, like that might appeal.
Yeah.
It might not
I-
work either. I'm willing to, but it might help if they see the orange fence and the plantings and that sign. Maybe that'll
Whenever-
stir something in them to be a
Yeah,
better
whenever I go
citizen.
someplace, like trustees or reservations, I am fashioning the sign that I'm going to put at the Lane property after that. And at the bottom, it says, help us, we can preserve nature together. And then it says, for everyone, for the future, for everyone, or something like that.
Yeah.
So if you kind of make nice, and this is going to be a restoration project,
And it would sort of explain what the orange construction fence is, as opposed to just, they would perceive it as just a barrier to keep them out. Maybe it's protecting something.
Okay.
Just a thought.
And it'll also keep the geese from coming out there so
Yeah, well,
much.
that's the other
Yeah.
thing you want. That's-
That's, geese do not like, especially when they have their babies, they molt and I think either they can't fly, I know the babies can't fly. And so they do not like, they want to go in places that they can see. They don't want an opening. I mean, they want an opening, they want grass, that's why they go to everyone's grass. And if you have bushes and such, that makes them nervous because something could get them when they're going through the bushes. And I think that that's something we just have to get people to understand. You know, it's not that, no, we're mean, we don't want to have grass or openings right to the water. There's an awful lot of reasons for it. I walked through there today,
Okay.
and the amount of goose poop next to that pond where all
yes.
the infants
Oh, yeah.
are
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
was disgusting.
Yes.
Horrible.
it
It's
is.
really awful, but I have read that this is how you do it. You put bushes up and such so that the
They
geese
don't-
don't feel safe.
Well, hopefully the temporary fence will allow growth for these bushes and
Right down there, you just
They'll
walk up
try
that and
to
that
do
was
that.
vehicles.
So will you be trying to,
He's talking about this
will you
other
be-
area that goes that way.
planting in the other open
Some of them
areas
here.
as well?
There-
Like in this area.
Yeah.
Here there are.
I think you're
mean,
going to
like
have
you
to.
said,
Not
I
on
think,
this
I think we
side.
have
that's
to
what I mean.
make
No,
this
that's
work
the,
well.
that
I think
that
you're going to
road
have
is
to,
the-
yeah, you're going to have to
This-
see how
this
much, I mean,
shows
the
that there's a
the
gap there.
cemetery
There's like-
landscapers, I believe, have cut a lot of the buffer along that roadway too, I think,
Yeah.
but I don't
I don't
know.
know, I've never seen it,
Easily
but I
park
think we
here
have to do
and walk.
that
I mean, it's-
entire
Absolutely,
side and around the
absolutely.
corner.
And then there are
This
two or
way
three
we
other
go.
areas
And I
that you
know
can
that's
scooch through.
unattractive for people to walk
They're
down
not
there
right
with,
at the road,
you
they're a
know.
little bit.
Put flowers
If
on
it's
it.
temporary, I think
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
live with it. If, no, it's not going to be a
Right there
permanent
and right there.
installation of the fence. It's strictly a temporary installation until the plantings
So the other
get
place they're
going
mentioning is there's a
and
spot
are
right
established.
Here. So there.
I would
this
like
is
to
a big
read
spot.
into the record
Right there.
Gotcha.
a letter that we got from Clara Schuster. I have some concerns about the proposed fence along the water in Rock Hill Cemetery
go in the water.
that is being brought up at tonight's meeting. I understand the need to address the situation. However, it seems that putting up a fence is not aligned with conservation principles. Has the solution of native plants, which we've been talking about, planted densely along the water been proposed? I know that I have seen turtles come out of the lake to nest, and hooded Mexican ducks have nested in the pond and then brought their chicks to the lake. Unfortunately, a fence would restrict access to wildlife in addition to people. If the solution was to plant densely along the edge of the lake, like it is elsewhere, this would restrict access to people, but not wildlife. In the long run, it would also require less maintenance and be more cost-effective. If there's still a concern of people trespassing, a security camera could also be installed. I hope that this is seriously considered out of concern for the local wildlife. Respectfully, Claire Schuster.
Yes, I understand her point of view. That's, the permanent fence would be raised up, so wildlife can
Yeah,
get
I
underneath.
I understand that, but
That's not a very good solution, though. It just angers
So when
people.
we do
I
the
think we want to
temporary fence-
diffuse the anger. We want to make it an environmental restoration project. We want to have signage that talks about why and get rid of the no, 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 no. Just trying to, yes, this is why this is important. And I've got all the signs to back you up. I've got suggestions for signage.
That temporary fence is also raised?
oh yes, that would be, yeah, very definitely.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if it'd be that necessary this time, but it would be raised, yeah, actually.
I don't know,
That's what we
sometimes I
do.
see the hay bales and then they do the fence on top. I don't know.
No, we don't like you, Bill.
So, one question to ask is, would it be possible to turn that roadway that goes down there as the path to give you more space for plantings? Because right now, you're gonna have you're gonna have like that much space for plantings.
No, there's more than that.
But it's not very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I know where the road is.
We're talking about the other side of the fence. I know the fence was coming up pretty high towards the road there, but there's a lot of room down there to do plantings.
But even, so the one, where there's the gap and you know,
Yes.
there's not a lot of space there. you could put stuff, I'm just wondering if you just, I mean, what I'm thinking about is if you could make that roadway into a path, give you more space to put more plantings to make the buffer even bigger, more of a challenge to get through as it builds up. That makes it more, like in some other areas, there's much more of a buffer from where the roadway is, where there's more vegetation for people have to deal with getting through down to the
Right.
water.
That would have to be a conversation. I'd have to
No,
have.
I understand. I'm just like, I'm just trying to think again, other ways to put a bigger buffer to make it more difficult. And, maybe that's not this year's, maybe that's, hey, we'll figure out how to do that. Because, there's not much space down there for any grave sites, any new ones, I don't think.
No, there isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
But there's, a number of my friends are still waiting to go there, so.
no, I understand. No, I understand.
Is there a waiting list? I didn't know.
That's what I call Luther Connor down there, to
Yeah.
be, I've got the Amelings, the Mardinis, the Olsons, and there's still spaces for them there.
But
So-
what I mean is, like, okay, does somebody actually need to drive down through that little loop versus coming
From the other side.
from the other side? Because it's
Yeah,
not that
well,
far.
No, it isn't. You're probably right.
That's
You
kind of
could-
one of the things, so how can we
Yeah.
make it walkable, block that off, and then get rid of some of that pavement, make it make it a bigger buffer area?
Yeah.
To make it, much more of a, impervious, dense.
Yeah.
That sounds cool, but I have a few suggestions and criticisms and concerns. Anybody can file a request for determination on anybody else's property, but it gets kind of squirrely when you go and say you're going to be working on somebody else's property. We would, if they said that you need to file an order of conditions for a specific restoration plan, which is what we probably would do for just about anybody, we would do it for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds to me like if you were to block off that whole area with the orange construction fencing, make it so cars can't drive down there, like Jeff just said, and then have an order of conditions that talks about how you do it and with whom and what kind of specialist you use and what plans are being approved, then the commission would have teeth, but this is something the cemetery would need to file, and
Yes.
it would not cost, well, it would cost whomever was going to create the plans and such. But cemeteries are exempt organizations, so they would not need to file a fee for a notice of intent. But there's all these little nuances that go along with this. It's not just cut and dry. I would not necessarily recommend just pointing and saying, yes, that's okay, just do this there. You'd need to file a notice of intent, I think. I would recommend positive determination, meaning that's what you do. And I think it's a great idea if you can pull it off, if we can pull it off. It's a frustration, because I'm dealing with this with all the conservation lands. I feel like I'm failing everyone because it goes on everywhere. So I think if we could make it like an educational project, I think it would really be, I have people who go to the conservation properties and they pick up the trash for me and they tell me when there are problems. I've got all these little stewards that I chat up whenever I go visiting at a conservation property. That's the most important part, because people care. And there are a few people that make it, all of them look bad. There are a lot of good people out there. So if it was a project like that, especially maybe if you got the high school science people or Eagle Scouts involved or something crazy like that, and make it a real scientific project, I think that it would really be good, because one of the main problems in that area is you've got, I'm sure, fertilizer on the lawn coming down and
Yes.
washing out of that area.
Yes.
So one of the more important parts of a buffer zone, which we've been touting like crazy, I have a book this thick on all of the science behind the
absorbs the-
importance.
yeah.
Yeah.
It absorbs it, yeah.
Yeah.
It absorbs the nutrients, and the buffer plants grow rather than the weeds in the water.
Right.
So, I mean, there are many, many pluses, and I'm all for restoration projects. We've been pushing them.
It's really what it is.
People are starting to
Yeah.
understand.
Before we go too far, anybody in the audience about the cemetery, or?
No, it loops around.
Okay, I didn't want to ignore you if you were, oh,
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm really relieved that it's gonna be open for wildlife. I grew up near the cemetery, and I sledded in there as a kid. My mother's been ill, we've been walking with her. and I've
riding
noticed the
one.
wildlife, but I've also noticed
That looks like it's
the
like
local
50 feet.
wildlife, shall we say. You know, and I know the
not.
spots. I also am in there frequently enough to
What's the distance
see
from here to
that there is a
water?
certain level of activity. It's probably the same few repeat offenders.
15 feet.
But I'm just really happy that, I'm really impressed with
Less
the way
than 10.
everybody has worked together here, and I'm really happy.
It's deceptive
with
if
the
you
results.
picture.
So I think the boulders are a great idea, because I think eventually, I noticed they've done that in the other part. And it's a nice subtle way of, you know, restricting access and still being beautiful.
Yeah, it's right.
And the only
Yeah.
thing I have to say is that lower road,
Then there's
and
another
just,
spot right here. There's a
wheelchair access,
kind of a-
like, you know, people that are trying to visit right now, and that's the only thing. So I think it's a great idea to increase that buffer, because it is really pretty short on that steep ramp. And that wasn't there when I was a child,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, maybe we could kind of convince people who love walking in the cemetery, because I do often at lunchtime, and we see the same people. If we could just kind of get everybody to keep their eyeballs open and
Let's go down
just
by 10.
say, you know, deputize everyone. Here, that's what I do. I deputize you, I deputize you. If you see something, talk to them. Just say, hey, listen, I'm deputized by the Conservation Commission, and that's not good. You're not supposed to do that.
And there's just a ton of trash that people throw in there, and
Well,
that's.
then
that
there are a lot of
frustrates me to
good
no
people who
end.
pick it up.
Yeah.
There are, if you get the right
But it's all
people.
on the lakeside, because it just floats down, and the wind takes it, and I'm the only one that goes down there and picks it up. What's that?
There is a barrel, isn't there?
Yeah, well, that's also part of the problem, is if
I
that
know.
barrel's over full, it just goes in the water.
Yeah, we don't have any barrels on our conservation land. We ask people to take out what you take in,
Take out
and,
what you take
and we
with
have
it.
people taking out more than they take in.
Yeah,
And I'm
absolutely.
sure everyone's aware of this, but like, since the pandemic.
Could
the
you
activity-
just use the mic? My people up back there are getting mad at me.
You know, just since the pandemic.
Your name for the record,
Oh,
please.
Maria Schuster. I've,
Oh, okay.
yeah, Clara's my sister.
Yeah.
Since the pandemic began, because I've spent a lot of time in there, as I said, my mom's been ill since before and during. The amount of traffic in there since the pandemic has greatly increased. The town has increased, the population's increased, but the green space hasn't, and especially the available green space. And there are very few places to even access water in Foxborough. When I was a kid, there was Cocasset Lake, not this lake, but the swimming hole. And of course, there's Sunset Lake, which some people know about, and some people will go in and some people won't, you know, but in the local area. So I think that that's part of the pressure that we're all seeing on wildlife and these areas, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm sensitive to the people that are on the Lake Association, because I know many of them. It's a beautiful spot, and we're all, you know, privileged to have access to it, whether we live there or don't. And I think, anyway, I'm just really impressed with how you all.
Yeah. I was
got
their mom's
together.
neighbor. I used to live on Union Street.
Oh.
Yep.
Very
I was
nice.
17 Union Street. I lived across from.
Oh, Pond.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So anyway.
So, yeah, we're just trying to make this work.
I understand what you're trying to do. It's just.
And I understand your side as well.
Yeah.
I do. If we can do the temporary fence and try to do some growth to really make it robust there, that they're not going to try and attempt to cut things down and make paths and gain access, because, you know, Foxborough has a lot of other waterways. There's
Oh, yeah.
Sunset Lake, there's Neponset, you know, there's Miramichi, there's a lot. So I just trying to preserve an area and really grow what needs to be there to keep it pristine.
So how are you with marketing? I think
did
if we get
marketing
some
for 20
newspaper
years, by
article
the way.
or something in there.
I did 20 years of marketing.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. We need marketing really badly. It's all about education. You know, I try not to say no, 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 because people, if they understand, they care. And it's all about the science and the education, no emotions.
I would agree that most people care. There are a lot that.
It's the few
feel
that
it's
give
their
the rest a
freedom
bad
to do
name.
what they want
Yeah.
and can. And that's that group that they're not going to listen to the education part of it. You know, there's.
Well, if everyone walks by them and scowls, if they're trying to do something. You know, it's peer pressure perhaps, but I think we've been trying to tout this buffer zone stuff forever. Well, for as long as I've been around anyway. And
And I agree with it. I do.
if we can get it out there that, yeah, they really are important. And you really don't want to dump all your leaves in that wetland. And you know, you shouldn't be cutting down conservation land, and it goes on and on.
Yeah.
And she's right, the pandemic made everyone go crazy, literally. I mean,
Well, they need the outdoors. I mean,
Yes.
Foxborough's grown, and yet, you know, Foxborough's grown. It's developed so much. I mean, any of us who grew up here know that and have seen it with our eyes, how much has been taken down in the last 30, 50, 60 years. And yet the available green space for us to enjoy hasn't increased, you know.
we have a lot of green space.
We have,
We have an awful lot of green space if you know where to go, and I have
Oh,
a,
I am aware of that.
I have
I'm
a
aware
new
of that.
guide. I have a new Foxborough Conservation Land guide with trail maps that I just printed up, and you can get copies if you want.
But I mean, I used to be able to walk my German Shepherd in the state forest, and then there became a time when I just couldn't. Like, meaning that I would have the trails to myself, and this was only, you know, 15 years ago.
It's busy in there
And
now.
now,
A lot
it's
of
just
people with
like-
dogs.
Yeah.
It's a problem. And people need to keep their dogs on leashes and stuff, because
Yeah.
not all dogs are friendly. And some people are really afraid of dogs, too.
Yeah, I mean, just the density, yeah. Just the density of the traffic on these plaplaces shows you the great need for it. And
Oh,
also the great need for
absolutely,
preserving it. I
absolutely.
mean, like I say, I think you all did a really great job tonight, so,
We,
you know, you as well.
we left our conservation properties open during COVID because we knew people needed to escape.
It was
A lot of
really-
places did close them, although I don't know how successful they were. But we specifically worked to keep them open because you needed to escape, literally.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
so have we,
So I guess handling this, right? So if you want to do this sort of alternative,
Temporary.
can he change his
I mean, the proposed work obviously is something that we would issue
determination
a
or?
positive determination. which
Yes,
is the
this
proposed work.
definitely would get a
We filed
positive.
the application correctly for that project.
But I don't want you to come back.
Well, I would like him to have a specific plan and a specific person who's
Can we
going to
have
do it, who knows
another
about it.
determination with a specific plan of the plantings?
I don't see
Or is that-
how. I mean, I was encouraging you to do that from the get-go, wasn't I? Can I say I told you so?
Yeah, but I mean, in my application, I said we're working closely with conservation, because
Yeah.
I didn't want to do specific plantings. I wanted to work with you to see what was going there and what we could work together.
Ouch, that's hard, though. I mean, we need to have teeth. We need to have teeth.
You can't have that on a.
Determination.
RDA.
No, you cannot.
No.
You cannot.
So-
And I would give you all the leeway that there was, except I think you really need to have a specific plan for specific areas and a specific density
Oh, like
of
what
plantings
plantings go
and a
there?
specialist who knows what he's doing or she's doing. I'll tell you, I've been encouraging people, I've been trying to find people who know about native plants, and it took a long time for me to find us to find our gardener who works at the Lane property, and she's fantastic, but the native plants have been growing in this area forever, so they're very well adapted. And maybe if you were to scrape back some of that soil, you'd have the natural soils, or maybe that's the natural soil, maybe you need to add something. But I'm not, I know a lot, but I'm not a specialist, so you really need a specialist who would oversee the project and be able to monitor it. And it's, you know, it's probably a small investment for the health of your lake.
No, this was a.
There's no
Contact
easy.
information,
Whether
she's
it's
the local
subject
one.
matter.
What's that?
Is she the local one that I could speak with?
You could speak with her, but she's recently moved far, far away, up to the North Shore, so I feel fortunate that she's helping us. But she might talk to you anyways, or she may know of some people who know what,
Would anybody at PAR know enough about?
Yeah,
are, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Okay.
Actually,
there's no fee.
Lauren is right outside here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Not trying to, show any partiality, but
They know their stuff.
Yeah,
They do know
they
their
know-
stuff. There are those who know their stuff, and we respect them, and we like working with them.
Yeah, we're saying, jurisdiction.
Because really, you're going to need to say, you do this to the soil, you do this at the base of the hill so that there won't be any sedimentation. In the meantime, you use natural this and natural that, and ground cover this, and big rocks that are native that. And it's
You could just say.
kind of a no-brainer, but at the same time, you're going to have to,
Yeah, a lot of it has to fall in the cemetery because it's actually their property.
I know,
Yeah.
I know, and that's the weird part.
And no one's from the cemetery is here.
I've reached out to them to be here, and like I say, it's kind of an absentee neighbor.
If you say, here's the money, I am funding you this beautiful restoration project for the good of all of
We are
Foxborough.
happy to help. We're certainly not going to fund the entire thing, but we are certainly happy to help for it, you know?
Yeah.
It's for benefit of both properties.
Yeah.
I don't see the cemetery as having that make a change.
They are willing to,
difference.
they are willing to help.
Okay. So for us for tonight, we've, a positive determination, and then we can work with them with the NOI with some more information.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay.
definitely.
all right. Somebody want to make?
It's a
motion?
hard one. It is a hard one.
It's difficult. Someone want to make a motion?
Here, let's see what the numbers are.
Tough denial, isn't it? I'm just trying to save the land.
No, I know, that's not what the question, that's not what the issue is.
So, boundaries are not confirmed because there were no boundaries. So that's 2B, this is a positive 2B. 1, area described on the reference plan is an area subject to protection under the act. Removing, filling, dredging, or altering of that area requires the filing of a notice of intent. So you need it under the act. The boundary has not been approved or delineated.
It's 2A.
Yeah, 1, 2A, and then there's bylaw stuff. 5, yeah, 1, 2, and 5 should do it. Positive determination. So basically, it says, the area is jurisdictional under the act, the area is jurisdictional under the bylaw, no alteration without a notice of intent, and then the boundary has not been delineated or approved. I could certainly help you with that. I mean, it's basically just looking where the water is. But there are a lot of wetland plants going up that slope a little bit, like buttonbush and azalea, they like wet
On the
feet.
sides of, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's really surprisingly beautiful, as
That's
was,
all I want to do is continue what's already there.
absolutely.
I'm not bringing anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
native,
we totally get
non-native.
that, yeah,
I'm
we
just
totally
bringing
get
in
that.
what's next to it.
Make it match.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do we make that motion, James? Just make the motion.
Positive determination for the filing 1, 2A, and 5.
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you very
Thank you for your
much.
time.
Yep.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
What's this?
Being 7:10 PM, we have Enred, Walnut Street. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, the Conservation Commission will open a public hearing on Monday, July 11th at 7:10 PM in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, and via Zoom on an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by Michael Matos of Walnut Street, joint venture developer LLC for the property located on Walnut Street, Assessor's Map 133, Parcel 023, to verify the boundaries of all resource areas related to the property.
Can I clarify something?
Yes?
I think it's only under the state, correct? It's not under the bylaw as well?
Under the state only?
I don't know. Did I do that way? Probably.
I think it is. I was trying to figure it out. I made a whole thing, she'd made one with the state, and I altered it to add the town, and then I realized she was right. But the abbreviated notice is on a form that has the Foxborough Wetlands Protection Bylaw on it. But I think that Maybe you didn't mean to do that?
You're right, Jane, we only did it under the state.
All right, good. Okay.
Because I'm looking at the fees, and we didn't include,
Right, but the form, we always say use our form, but if it's for state only, you use the state form, or our state form. Okay, good.
This just crosses over.
Oops. Sorry about that.
Walnut. Farmstead's over here. Yeah, it's right here.
1, 2A, and 5.
And this is the area farm.
2A and 5.
Model.
Should.
You know where it is?
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting thing, the elevation's here versus the elevation.
Yeah.
if you want to get out, you can just
Yeah, it's on.
hit that, so you can zoom in and out. And I just
How do you
put
zoom in
Up
and out?
there.
Oh,
It's
okay.
higher than over there, right?
All right.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, here's the
That is
wetlands.
odd.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Bodie, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Buckley from Bay Colony Group, and I'm here representing the applicant, Walnut Street Joint Venture Developer LLC, for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation at the corner of Route 140 and Walnut Street. And with me this evening is Lauren Gluck from Pear Corporation. And what I'd like to do right now is to just turn this over to Lauren. Lauren did the delineation, and she can walk you through it.
Sure. So I, along with one of my colleagues, did this delineation a couple months back. Had a site walk with Jane prior to this meeting. I think it was Thursday or 2 Thursdays ago, and walked the site. So the site here is primarily, I think it's almost all of it is wooded. There's one isolated wetland depression defined by flag series A, where my cursor is here. It's a fairly shallow, seasonally flooded depression with more saturation along the edges. It's forested, has a dense understory of clethra. And then the other features that were delineated, there is a drainage swale that runs along the road shoulder, which is non-jurisdictional. It does ultimately enter a catch basin along Route 140, crosses under the road, and presumably enters this wetland on the other side of the road. But the section of this channel along the property here is up gradient of any other wetlands. It's just a linear swale along the shoulder, so that we're considering a non-jurisdictional feature. Across the road here, there are 2 flag series. There's flag series C and then flag series C100. These are 2 sections where a bordering vegetative wetland on the adjoining property encroaches toward the site. So we wanted to delineate that to get the buffer zone on the property, which is shown here. It clips up into the site in a couple locations, one being right there and here and over here. And those areas were pretty straightforward, toe of slope situations. And then the last wetland area is across 140, defined by flag series B. It's a real defined toe of the shoulder where a bordering vegetated wetland borders the road there. And that, I don't even think goes onto the site, but we delineated it to establish whether that had buffer zone on this corner of the site here. So the isolated wetland, it is presumed to be isolated land subject to flooding, I believe, based on what we've seen with the area of it and the volume. We have seen some flooding in the interior. It was fairly minor, maybe up to a foot in some areas, a few inches for the most part. So that would be an ILSF, but we're filing only under the state, so we're not giving it a buffer zone under the state. And then the rest of the remaining areas have buffer zones that are shown on the plan. So at that point, I think we've covered all the wetlands, and if anyone has any questions?
I haven't been out personally yet, but it's very interesting that the elevations there are 252, 251, and then down closer to 140, the elevations are 242, like 10-foot differential. How Does water flow uphill?
I don't think so. It is kind of bizarre out there because you do see it sloping down, but maybe it's a difference in the surficial geology. Because up here, this is all, we walked in transects across the site. There's nothing, it's all oak forest. It's just real, dry as a bone. And then you get out here, yeah, it is strange to see it go up to contour 251, 252. Maybe it's a perched area, but it's a pretty clear depression once you get in there and you start to see the trees behaving differently and you see water staining and such. So I can't explain how it got there, but it's there.
Any? Dean?
Of course, I look at that and I smell vernal pool.
Huh?
I look at it and I smell vernal pool. And so we went around the side and then I went zipping through the center to see if I could find any evidence of vernal pool, anything. And I dug around in some spots looking for evidence of caddisfly larvae or fingernail clams. And it doesn't look like it would have, I mean, maybe in some years it might hold enough water to support wood frogs. But I didn't see anything that screamed that. It's a funky one. It's one of those funky spots in Foxborough that just probably is water just below the surface, but not enough to really support any kind of obligate vernal pool species.
Okay.
If we went out in the spring, I might say something different, but there's nothing. I mean, the leaves weren't even stained that much, were they?
In the interior, there were pockets.
Just
But
pockets.
it wasn't like a continuous
No.
pool. It was like just little mounds and pools.
I suspect it's just high water groundwater maybe, and
Yeah.
maybe sometimes something can eke out an existence, but I don't know. It didn't make me think that we need to come back in the spring and see it. I mean, it didn't really scream at me that way. It is a dry year, but there would have been something that would let us know.
Do you agree with all the flags? Would
I
you
do.
walk?
I do.
Okay.
I do want to point out, though, that because that is an isolated land subject to flooding, and it's so close to the non-jurisdictional swale, I want to ensure that it is not dewatered in any way, shape, or form by any kind of development that goes in around there. Just keep in mind, please.
You want to what, Jane? I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure that that isn't dewatered in any way, intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
And if you could stay as far away from it, like 25 feet as possible, I would sure appreciate it. Nadia Estates did it. So I think that would be just lovely. But, it was a good delineation. A hard one.
It was a little tricky.
We were having debates over what plant was what. Did you ever figure out what those weird ferns that I found in New
No.
Hampshire were? Okay.
Not yet. I'm gonna check this week, though. I was away last week.
That's
Take a
right,
look.
that's right.
I'll take a look when I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
Not now, no.
Jim? No. Jeff?
Not on this, no.
Peter? No.
Nothing coming to mind.
Yeah, my only question is, it kind of relates to what you're planning and doing later, but I'm not sure if you know, do we have a decision on what's happening at that intersection yet?
All right, I'm going to give you some very general information that was passed out, because I'm not the engineer for the project. We're just kind of the surveyors and stuff.
Yeah, I get it, I just like,
So
okay.
so my understanding is the design work is like 95% complete for the intersection. And there has also been a design, which is complete, for a sewer from this point all the way down to Central Street. Because this, you follow Walnut Street, and then it drops into Central, that's where the sewer is. So those are complete. And both of those elements will support this project. The problem is funding. There was something in the paper the other day where politicians made promises, and we'll see what happens, because, whatever our rep's name is, with the rep, that he promised $4 million a couple of years ago, we didn't get it, so we'll see. So that's about all I know. There are general design plans for the project. They have been presented to a neighborhood. It was a neighborhood meeting, I don't know, a month or so ago. And I think that what they're really waiting for now is this, just to confirm it. and then they have to, there's still not a signed, I don't know what it would be called, but agreement between the town and the applicant, Walnut Street Joint Venture. I don't know what's holding it up. They're planning on, they're working hard on the design work, and I think they are, the next step is they have to go for a site assignment letter from the Mass Housing for it, and then once they get the site assignment letter from Mass Housing, then they can go to the town for the actual comprehensive permit. So we're guessing fall. I think that's aggressive. We'll see how it goes. But
And they are talking about a traffic light and not the smart move, which is around.
no, it's a massive rebuild of this area. I've looked at it, but I don't have to know it off the top of my head, but it also involves that there's the southbound ramp, so the 95 Cellar ramp, there's a reconstruction of a portion of that. I don't know if it's another set of lights there or not. You know, the difficult part is come flying off that ramp.
Oh, I know.
And you hit it right there. It's like, Route 1 at 495, where they had to
Plain
redo
Ridge,
that.
where Plain Ridge,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's tough too. You come flying off the ramp, boom, and you hit the light.
yeah.
So I think that's the same issue that the traffic engineers had on this. So that's why it's such an expensive proposition.
But they are talking traffic lights and not putting roundabouts in.
Oh, yeah, no roundabout. No, it's definitely
Yeah,
traffic lights.
in my
It's like-
opinion, I mean, roundabout would make it so much easier to deal with. That's me. But
No,
that's somebody just, who got back from was that?
Did you grow up in New Jersey or something?
No, I just got back from driving on the left side of the road in England and Scotland, and it was great.
Right.
So,
So it's definitely traffic lights.
because it just makes traffic flow, there's no problems, but that's me. So,
Okay. Do we have any comments from the audience? Yes.
I don't know if it's time to talk about it, but the biggest thing everybody seems to be concerned with is the buffer.
Just put your name for the record.
My name's Ed Galley on North High Street.
Okay,
The biggest thing is everybody's concerned with is the buffer and the wildlife that is back there, which is an immense amount of wildlife there. It's like you can shine a flashlight from my back of my yard and all you see is eyes. And it's all deer, fox, coyotes, everything's back there. I think at one point, a few years ago, there was a black bear back there.
wow.
So it's, all we're being told is it's gonna be a 50-foot buffer, and it's like, or there's gonna be a migration path, so it's like you're gonna put a sidewalk in for these animals to go where? So it's kinda, that's our biggest concern with all this. We understand that, you have to build for elderly, and we gotta grow and stuff, but we're deforesting a big area for the wildlife, and we seem to do a lot of that in Foxborough.
Unfortunately, right now, our only issue in front of us is the verification of the wetlands.
Yeah.
And as the project progresses, I think that's when we'll get into those issues.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But we just want to constantly bring it up and just make
Okay.
sure that
Yep.
everybody hears what we're saying.
Yeah, understand.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Yes,
Like I have drafted an order of delineation
okay.
approving the.
Shall we close the hearing first?
Yeah, just wanted to let you know.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? All right. Now then, Jane?
Oh, I drafted the order just basically, oops, I didn't check off accurate. As accurate for bordering vegetated wetlands, and then I cited what Lauren put in her delineation report as the wetland flag series. And then other resource areas, specifically isolated land subject to flooding and non-jurisdictional drainage soil flag series, blah, blah, blah. Diana and I. So do you want to vote for that and sign this?
Sure. Someone want to make a motion first?
Make a motion to approve the delineation for Walnut Street and red 157-16618.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None?
Good night, thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Oh. Did you want to say anything? Oh, okay. It's coming around. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night now. Okay.
Next one's on Zoom, Bob.
What's that?
Next one's on Zoom.
And should be relatively quick.
Okay, I don't have any paperwork for it.
It's just a request for an amendment.
It's a request for an amendment. Here is the new plan.
Okay.
And then the MassDOT staff would maybe please review what the changes are. I understand they will create less of an impact.
Oh, yes, yes, very definitely. I think they're taking it completely, from the way I looked at it, they're taking it completely out of the,
I think they did, yeah. That's how it is described.
yeah.
Could you describe that maybe?
Yes. Am I good?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me.
Hear 'em in there, but not
Uh-oh.
here.
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah,
Almost.
almost.
It's not him, it's our
It's on,
speakers.
it's on, that's on
It's our
us.
speakers.
Is it on you or?
It's on our end.
Okay,
That's good.
I will speak louder than I need to. After discussion with our maintenance staff, as well as evaluating potential impacts to the median and its buffer wetland, associated wetlands. Sorry, my daughter just. We have decided to remove the leaching basins that was initially proposed in the median. So if I may I share my screen of the plans that was presented to the commission back in May, and then present an updated plan?
We have that.
You would have the initial plan that I have presented back in May, and that initial plans proposed a series of leaching basin in the median. The maintenance staff have some concerns regarding that, especially at exit 13B here on 95.
What
The
page is
leaching
this on?
basin is, what was that again?
The one from May.
I know. I think that's what this is, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
think it was May 16th.
What sheet is it?
Which sheet
This
number?
was sheet 98 as part of the NOI plan. But my plan that I'm presenting you was, I believe, in April. I may not have the May.
The plan that we have that was sent, the revised plan, is not dated and it's not signed. So maybe it is a little more than administrative.
You mean the draft NOI plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, you submitted something, I think I have the page. We received it on June 23rd.
Correct. That was for the amendment?
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's not dated and it is not signed. I just noticed.
Oh.
Details.
Minor detail.
Yeah.
So with that, we are eliminating that leaching basin altogether and just proposing the 4-bay across the way. That's basically the revision and the request for the amendment. And with the elimination of the leaching basins, that would eliminate approximately 335 square footage of permanent riverfront area and about 1,500 square feet of temporary impact associated to the installation of leaching basins and piping and geofabric.
So with the revision, you're basically pulling everything out of our control. Is that correct?
Correct. The only, not necessarily all out. The 4-bay is still within the grading associated with it, as well as the installation of the 4-bay is still within the 100.
All right.
It's just that we do not want to compromise that steep slope at the median, as well as causing traffic when we go back and maintain those leaching basin on the fast lane of 95.
Could you move that cursor a little slower? It's
I apologize. We do not want to compromise the steep slope
okay.
Of the median, as well as potentially causing traffic because the leaching basin would have been installed on the side, the fast lane side of
Okay.
95, going south.
Understood.
That is the only revision that we have.
Okay. Jane, other than needing a signed copy, do you have any other issues?
I
Signed and
need to
dated.
be able to reference a date somewhere somehow. Is there a date anywhere on this thing? I see the index, all of the pages are not numbered. I am numbering them.
Do you mean for the plans?
A date for the plan. What's your final date version? I mean, this here says, this says printed on 4 November 2021,
That's, yeah.
which I don't know
That
if
was
that's pretty
plotted,
accurate.
yes. Yeah. Let me reach back to BSC to send you a stamp plan,
Dated.
revised plan, and dated as well.
Okay. Having trouble with it.
So from an updated standpoint for the project itself, it has been out, it has been advertised, I believe the end of last month. And it will be out to bid and constructed by, I believe, August.
By when?
August?
August.
August?
Yes.
Okay. Next month.
All right, so what page did you say, the changes that you've made are on page basically 11, right? Construction plan?
Let me check, and correct, 10, actually.
It's 10?
10 out of 22, correct.
The one that you showed on the screen looked like it was 11.
Was 10.
Jane, okay, oops, okay.
Yeah, that's it. That looks like it's 11 on here. It's
Ah.
like numbered it wrong.
Oh, Okay.
Looks like looks like it's page 11. So we, in theory, have a complete plan, and if the only change is on page 11, then would you send us a signed, dated,
Okay.
stamped?
I'll get a stamp and date it. Yep,
All right.
we do.
Okay.
And since this is insignificant and is going to be less of a change than previously approved, I think administratively, all you need to do is make a vote and have it show in the minutes, and maybe I could send you a copy of the minutes if you'd like.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Or, I mean,
Yeah.
it's being recorded.
Yeah. So if somebody want to make a motion that we accept the revised plan?
Make that motion to accept the revised plan on the Route 195, I-95, I-495, DEP number 157-615.
Okay, second, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None? Thank you. Can you get those
Thank you.
plans to us and dated? Appreciate it.
We do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 7:20. Diana?
Same thing, it's a request for a modification to a
Okay,
previous.
all right. Okay. Mr. Leslie?
Mr. Bodie? And it was time to say this is Representative Sal and Gretchen Napoli.
Wait till you get to the mic so that...
I'm sorry. How's that? How's that? Rich Leslie with Bay Colony Group, representing Sal and Gretchen Napoli. This is a modification to a notice of intent that we previously filed for the swimming pool. Briefly on that work, it's complete. Jane's walked it with us. But before we closed it out and asked for a certificate of compliance, Sal wanted to do this modification here, which consists basically of, he wants to make a privacy fence that will extend from where we stopped the wood post, we didn't put any fencing in the original notice of intent, to go right out to the peninsula. If you remember previously where that dock is shown, that was the abutters dock. The abutters dock, we had done the notice of intent for that years ago, and somehow it got put on the other side. Joe Ames and Dale Passion were good friends, they probably didn't care. So since the Ames's dock has been moved to the other side of the property line, it used to be right there, he moved it to the other side of the property line. And now Sal would like to go ahead and put up, he's putting approximately 15 white pines. It depends how many they plant based on the vegetation. What, you know, some of it's going to be too swampy. As well as relocating that existing boardwalk so it's 100% on his property.
Okay.
And the seasonal dock, and he is proposing a flagpole in approximate middle of the peninsula there. The good thing about the dock is that there's zero clearing required because it's already been done. So he doesn't have to clear anything additional in the 25-foot no disturb. We walked this around with Jane. I tried to look for other places on there and got shot down quickly. So we understand that. What Sal was trying to do is move it a little bit closer to, again, gain a little bit more privacy. But at the end of the day, we realize the best place for it to go is where there already was a dock.
Okay.
And I have good news. I realized that arborvitae are basically just white cedar. And if you get the native variety, I was just up in Acadia, Maine, and they had these thuya arborvitaes everywhere, and they're beautiful, and they're white cedars. Basically, that whole area used to be a white cedar swamp, and I was pointing out some of the cedars that were there. So if you get the native species Latin name, Thuya occidentalis,
Spell it.
That probably would have been even better news prior to him purchasing 15 white pine,
Well,
which
what'd
is
you
what
do that for? It hasn't been approved.
he had him, and it was either buy him now or we don't know when we're gonna get him again, like everything else, so.
Oh,
Did you
well.
already lock in on that, Sal? Did you lock onto the pines?
Pretty much, but yeah, there's probably flexibility, but
You wanna check that out? You wanna
Yeah,
see?
I'll check it out.
Okay,
Yeah, I can see
all right.
that.
Because that's
That
what you
sounds good.
wanted
Yeah.
to start
It is
with,
what
I
you
know. And
Oh.
I know that there are an awful lot of cultivars and hybrids and such, but if you get a native,
Yeah.
who knew? It says, let's see, Go Botany's website states, it is one of the New England's longest lived trees lasting 200 to 300 years, hence its common name, Arbor Vitae, which means tree of life.
You wanna check that out?
Learn something new every day, right?
I mean, that would be better than the white pines, honestly.
Yeah.
For
Actually,
screening
our
purposes.
landscaper preferred your original choice, actually, or not the original choice, which is the pines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he actually
Really?
thought that would work out well.
Well, if you want to add a couple of arborvitaes here and
Sure.
there, you can
Yeah,
do that
yeah.
too.
So the planting may be a mixture of both.
As long as it's a native,
Yeah.
native, I mean, native species, Latin name, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I have no problem with it. It's straightforward.
I do have one question about the boardwalk bridge. You're basically only going to have to keep the far side and then just
Pretty
scooch it
much.
over a bit,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, pretty much.
What are you going to put it on? Are you going to,
It already spans a little, it's ditch, let's say that's why the boardwalk's there, right? But I think
it's
if they,
water, it's a swampy area.
if they spin it, there's still enough, it's long enough so that it gets the dry land on each side.
It
So it'll
does?
just lay it just on, like the other ones, just lay it on the ground.
Because I remember seeing some native trees and stuff in that area, maybe even a cedar or two.
Some seed mix in there.
We won't make sure we won't interrupt that.
Well, you could try, or you could, if they're not huge, you
Yeah.
could transplant those.
Absolutely.
Area that's
Very carefully, because it is just,
now exposed.
it's all muck right
Yeah.
there, and,
Yeah.
yeah, anything you can
The
do
whole,
to,
the whole point of this,
preserve
and by the way, so when we were in here previously, was going back and forth with the next door neighbor, and it's worked out great. They've worked it out together. They have no problems, but the Ameses are selling. And so what Sal, right off the bat, and rightly so, good fences make good neighbors, so he wanted to jump on this right away.
Yeah,
So we said,
understand.
okay.
yeah, and we walked the site, and he wanted to put it in a location of a beautiful, really large, high bush blueberry, and they wanted to chop a bunch of trees, and they wanted to just gouge the thing, so I said, no.
No,
Selectively pruned, we'll say.
Well, he's got a
But
lot
we're
of
not
really,
doing any of that.
he has a lot of really cool stuff out there, and he
Yeah.
honestly might not have a lot of the low-growing stuff if his neighbor hadn't chopped it, but that said, we talked about trying to let it grow. He's got a lot of really cool things, though. It's beautiful.
so you have to educate your new neighbor when they move in.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we will. Yeah.
So,
I did not create an amended order of conditions.
okay,
This is somewhat of an exempt minor activity. It's not, obviously, it's within 50 feet, but it's minimal, and it is basically restoring the habitat. And your landscapers know that you don't have to make for pretty, you just dig a hole and plunk it in, and try not to alter any more than is absolutely necessary. And I feel comfortable with that. I don't know if you do.
no. Yep, I have no qualms with it. Rebecca?
Just
No,
let-
I'm fine with it. It seems minimal.
You might want to let me know when they're there and doing it, so I can go out and supervise,
Definitely. Yeah.
really.
Restake
Yeah.
that line out, Jane, that
Yep.
line's been restaked, so it's very, very distinguishable now. So
All
there'll
right.
be no problem getting the trees in the right location.
Have you been chopping the wisteria?
No, I haven't, not, but I will. I'll make sure.
We went out, when we were out there, I'm like, what's this vine?
I did get a chainsaw.
And it was the wisteria, the mysterious wisteria in Neponset, on the Neponset Reservoir.
Oh.
And it was in the area that they were doing restoration, and it was just about to flower too. And I said, well, let it flower, then chop it. Because they're impossible to get rid of. You'll have to keep after it, because I planted one in my pool area thinking I was going to give myself some privacy, and it never flowered.
Oh.
And it was just a pain in the neck. And it is not wanting to leave. I have to keep on cutting
Well,
it.
talk to Mr. Triani on Camp Road with his wisteria.
Yeah.
I mean, he is
There's a wild
crazy
wisteria
with
on the
it
reservoir.
over there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it needs
You
to
know
be
where-
removed.
Yeah, oh, I know where he is, John and Judy Ita's house.
Okay,
Yep.
so he's having a lot of fun with the wisteria down there.
Oh, yeah.
So. Anything else then that we need to do?
I don't think so. Just, like I said, just let me know before they come there. We don't want them running amok,
Yeah, yeah.
as landscapers want to do. No offense or anything.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
And you too.
We have a request for continuance to August 8th for DEP 157617, 2 Washington Street. Someone want to make a motion to continue?
Make a motion to continue. 157615, no, 157617.
7.
Second, yeah.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else in your little bag of tricks, Jane, or do you want to talk about it tonight?
Let's see. La, 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 la.
The,
What lovely pictures you sent us.
Oh, I had a lot of fun with pictures, yes.
and she's got more.
I have more.
Get some facial recognition software, and then we can start tracking people down.
Oh, my gosh. So the place that we're having the problem, everyone knows, is the fence is, the chain link fence has been cut. And over 4th of July weekend, I went there last Friday on my way home from work, and I got the chip. And I brought it home, and I put it in my computer, and my partner, Dan, said, "What do they have there?" They, I think, opened it up a little more and scooched a John boat through the hole in the fence. And so they had a grand old time on the little pond. There were 3 people with their fishing fools and their fishing equipment, and I have to laugh because otherwise I'd cry. When I saw that, I just couldn't believe it. But I have a lot of faces and things, and there are repeat offenders, and for the most part, people are keeping their dogs out, from what I can gather. But those darn fishermen, some fishermen are giving everyone a bad rap. I mean, I have no problem with fishing, but I'm told that that thing is fished out anyways, and because I encouraged the fishermen to fish it out
Yeah.
a while back, because all of the reptiles in the area breed there, and I don't want the fish eating them when they hatch. So, yeah, it's fun. Did my email come through with the pictures?
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was shocked.
Wish I knew who people were.
I mean, I'm kind of glad I don't know.
That's, I was going to, nope, don't know, be good.
And the postings bit,
Yeah.
excuse me, the open meeting extension, having it video zoomed, there was some sort of extension to it. I just saw that the other day, and it
I
was
saw
about
it in the
as,
paper, and there,
was about as
somebody's
clear as
making a
mud.
motion to make it permanent
okay.
from here to eternity.
So we don't have to worry about after July 15th. It looks like it's been taken care of. And, yeah.
So you made a request for them to close up the fence, yes, Chris, or whoever at the highway department to close up the fence, or?
I doubt myself, and I thought, well, maybe I wasn't clear, but I was clear, so I have to send it again, I think. Yeah, it was basically the chief of police recommended that the holes be closed up. And it hasn't been used as much, but it's on the left-hand trail, not the right-hand trail.
Which is where I did not go, so that's why I'm like, I can't get in here, this is all locked up. I'm like, oh, so,
Not really.
okay.
So, yeah. It's a challenge.
Yep.
So when the guy was talking about trying to keep his lake clean, I totally understand. It's a real battle. It's a real challenge. And like I said, I feel like I'm letting down the residents of town because it's almost impossible to do sometimes. And I do have new guides, so if anyone of you want a copy of it, we have a paper version, and hopefully we can get the revision on to the website. The website is not user-friendly. Challenges me.
Yeah.
What's going on, Dan?
Okay, that's,
I used to play on it all the time, but it's just, you can't. It's doesn't make any sense. And I have that kind of mind too, so I don't know. Is it being changed or what? I keep hearing.
Speaking of it not being user-friendly, can I get the next couple of meetings in my calendar? Because for some reason, I tried to look them up today and
The July 25th meeting's been canceled.
right.
So next one's August 8th and August 22nd.
I won't be here for the August 8th one.
Won't be here for August 8th.
Correct.
And also, I've heard that there are two separate links, basically. There's the Conservation Department and there's the Conservation Commission. And
Maybe I was looking in the wrong one.
that, yeah, and if you Google Conservation Commission, it'll bring you to the Conservation Commission. I think even if you Google Conservation Department, the only way to get all of the links and everything is to go to the town's main page, and then under departments.
so can we
Yep.
end the meeting and then we can?
Well, I want people to know about it too,
Okay,
if
all
anyone's
right,
listening.
Okay,
And under departments, Conservation Department, and then you've got the whole thing.
okay,
Where's my shoe?
okay,
That's all.
okay. Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Don't everybody speak at once?